I always love hearing what you guys have to say, which leads perfectly into today's video topic. It's another Q&A. Q&A Sunday, my favorite videos to make during the week because it is direct interaction between the fan base, the community, and myself. I love answering your guys' questions. I love hearing what you guys have to say and being able to curate some of that content for you. We've been doing this for like 60 weeks or something like that, if not more. And again, I hope it doesn't stop anytime soon. But it's Q&A Sunday. If you guys would like to be part of these, two ways you can do it. Same thing as every single week. Even if you missed the previous weeks, you can always go back and watch those if you like the topics. But you have the ability to determine what happens in these. Leave a comment on the video, the ones you like, the ones that you want answered. Make sure you guys like those, as well as show support on any of those. Any questions you have in the comments, or come over to the stream every day but Tuesday and Sunday. Fridays every other week we miss because I'm casting RLCS for V1. But yeah, our videos and our chat is pretty much a Q&A every single day. Come in the chat, ask a question. I'm here to answer it, or leave it on the video. Either way, let's get into these questions. We're going to do about 15 minutes on the clock. And
Q&A, why does hair keep growing, but animal fur doesn't keep growing?
Animal fur does keep growing. That's also, like, think about how much a dog sheds, right? Think about how much a dog sheds, Aura. Do you think if he didn't grow any more hair, he wouldn't, or what? Also, some people's hairs does stop growing. Feels bald, man. Luckily, I've got my mom's side of the hairline, and I have a full head of hair still, even at 31. Feels good. Jokes aside, let's get into the questions. Thanks for the resub, Orb. We are now looking at Hershey cows. I wonder if they are how you make chocolate milk. Off the wall question. What do you think RLCS would look like if rosters were locked for an entire season? Oh God, would there be so much drama? I think with such a young age demographic, not being allowed to change your rosters despite some of the issues would do a couple things. Number one, it may make teams actually better. It would force teams to learn how to handle their conflicts and their discourse with each other, and hopefully build and become stronger as a team long term. I think it might make it easier as well for the fan bases to follow along with teams. If you're telling me this team is this team for an entire year, it makes it a little bit easier to follow along for new fans coming in and for fans that are returning. So I do think there is some positives. I think the off seasons and in between splits would be way more boring, just because there wouldn't be all the efforts of shift and all that kind of stuff. So I do think some of that would be a downfall. I do think that the off season conversations and discussions would be a little bit lackluster. Yeah, I do agree with you. I think it is tougher to keep track of teams and the rosters that are changing, and it's a lot of moving parts. That's also why I make my roster document. I've tried to provide pieces of content as well as like resources for you to go and look at, so you can keep tabs on that stuff. And I'll do that for all of winter and spring, and hopefully make it easier for you, Ball. Again, reasons to subscribe to the channel. I try to keep you guys up to date on that stuff because I do know it is not easy. I'm able to do it because I do it for a living. But yeah, I do think there would be some negatives overall. I think there's some potential downfalls of it and some positives as well. Also, I had a question in chat that I'm going to save at the end. Liam, I'm going to answer yours at the very end. Up next, I grew up listening to that Rocket League doesn't have defined positions on the field like soccer goalkeeper, for example. Do you think this statement is turning around? Miss Torment that have an important role as defenders, third man, adjusting or first killer that are the mechanical gods dictating the pace of the team. I think it's even less than it was. While we do have things that players naturally do better than others. Torment is a prime example. He's always been positioned as a defensive player. He actually talked about this on his stream yesterday, ironically enough, about how making the adjustment to become more relevant in the current day and age. When he was with Cloud9, he kind of felt himself slowly taking a step back, and after they won Worlds 7 and 8. And because he couldn't keep up, he felt it was better to let his teammates make the touches and for him to be more supportive on defense. That way, when his touches are happening, he's not the one making the mistake or not scoring the goal or whatever it was. And has changed that around by being more aggressive, playing faster, working on the mechanics, playing a ton of ranked, grinding, all that kind of stuff. So Rocket League, in my opinion, has never really been a defined position. There is play styles or habits that through playing ranked, you just naturally progress towards. I am a very supportive player. I am there to fill in the gaps. I'm there to set up my teammates. I'm not going to be the goal scorer. I'm not going to be the major goalkeeper. I'm there to make sure things just mesh and go together. That's my play style. But I also understand that if I have the boost and I'm in the position, I'm going to cut rotation and go for it because that's my job. I talk about this in a video most recently. If you guys didn't watch it, please go check it out. I talk about the breakdown of NRG and discuss the general premises of how you determine to go. Am I the closest to the ball? Can I beat the other player to the ball? If I do, and I am the closest, so like I look at within my team, am I closest to the ball? Yes. Okay. Am I closer than the other player on the other team? Like, can I beat him to it? Do I even have the boost to go for it? Oh, I do. Okay, next. Is it advantageous? If I do beat him to the ball and I do get to it, is the thing I'm attempting to do going to benefit my team? And then after that, I'm taking in information from my teammates. And all this is happening split second. These are very, very quick reactionary plays. So even though people have tendencies and habits that they fall into, overall, it is a very reactionary game and based upon the circumstances that have been presented with those checks and balances. Those things are all being done subconsciously and without thought. Like, they are just a passive thing that happens, and you get better at them, I think, as time progresses. That is why I personally believe the game is not and should not be focused as heavily on mechanics as it has been. It's about consistency, minimizing mistakes, and finding ways to be consistent in your play and in your victories. Like, you talk about all these new teams that are trying to develop a good base level that they can rely on, and then when they have their peaks and they're popping off and mechanics and stuff are vibing. But I think the number one thing teams should focus on more than anything else is communication. I think being able to feed your teammates information and enabling them to be successful, communication trumps all. I think communication is the number one thing teams should identify and work on and become self-sufficient with. That's my opinion. Good question, though. Really good question. Fear, yes, I already did my predictions. They will be out on Friday. Also, if you guys haven't seen my predictions for this week, go roast me on how wrong they are. I expect them to be terrible. Do I think the MENA team actually have a chance to win a major or Worlds this season, with every team continuing getting better? I don't know if I think MENA has a chance to win Worlds, but I do think potential for clutching up a major is really good. I think the best thing that's happened to MENA is Rawas and Clears became of age, and there's a lot of new talent that has come in. Falcons used to be like a one-trick pony. We beat everybody, and we're not really challenged. We were playing to compete for majors. Now they actually have to compete to qualify, is how has it been stated. And because of that, iron sharpening iron. You got two teams that are competing, making each other better. Falcons isn't just winning every single time. That is going to force them to improve and get better. And same thing with KRN, which congratulations to Rule 1. The interview I did with Sunless Khan and Civic, their new organization, Rule 1, has picked up KRN over in MENA. I think it's awesome. I think it's a great opportunity for those kids and the sport, as well as Sunless and in Civic. So I think there's like 4 teams that I'm really keen on. KRN now, Rule 1's really good. I think Falcons is really good. I think Twisted Minds is really, really solid. And there's a couple other that sprinkle in there. But those teams, because the talent has added and gotten deeper, is going to force each other to get better. And I think, you know what? If you can make those final brackets, all it takes is having a good run on one day. So yeah, without a doubt, I think it's possible. But at Worlds, probably not. I think it's too stacked against them. I do. Mr. Flapples, I recently started wondering, what do casters talk about after a match is over? I can imagine Cole and Stumpy talking to each other like, mate, what an insane match. Is it anything like that or not? I think it depends on the duos. Immediately after a match, usually it's a conversation of like, yo, good cast, formalities, like, yo, good job. I really liked when you did this or that. Usually casters will have a conversation about like the day itself, depending on if the match is over or if the cast is over, or if they have a cast coming up. So multiple circumstances. Say the day's done. They talk between themselves. Hey, great match. Loved this. This was great. Let's kind of talk about the day overall. What things did you like, didn't like? How can we improve? Some is banter, some is less, serious than that. Varies. If you've got a match coming up, sometimes it's like, hey, we got to take a quick break. When we come back, then let's discuss the things that are coming up. What kind of things do you really want to talk about? Is there anything you'd like me to set you up for? Things like that. It varies a lot depending on the duo and what the next thing happening is. There's also a lot of conversation that's just pure banter. It's just there's some funny moments, or like maybe they recognize they made like a really big mistake or something like that. Again, the green room for casters is a lot of fun. It's when we get to really just kind of kick back, relax, and have a good time. No judgment, just vibing, and the personalities really come out. Green room talk is always fun, which is why I have this on my soundboard, ready to go at any time. Let's just say 18 hours days make you go a little bit crazy. You got to find ways to make yourself giggle and stay awake. Either way, yeah, I think green room talk and like post match stuff, there is some fun combos that have for sure. This is a question for both you and a poll for chat. Chat, this means you guys too. Other games like Destiny, COD, and Fallout have apps for their games. Would a Rocket League app where you could access your garage, trade, and watch replays be something to look into once the game comes to UE5? That'd actually be kind of cool. Companion apps are pretty popular. Here's chat on if you guys feel the same way, if you would utilize something like that. Being able to log into the game, check your inventory, and manipulate some stuff, maybe set up like your decals and everything. is nice. I think any games with inventories, being able to have that stuff in your pocket is kind of convenient. And being able to do trades that way, I think would be really nice for the trading community, which I don't know how big. I've never been into trading in the game. I like to collect items and that's about it. I don't really go into the value of the trade or any of that kind of stuff. So I do think that stuff's kind of cool. Obviously, when you're like doing franchise leagues and stuff like FIFA and everything has the way to control the ultimate team and like set their lineups and stuff, I think that's pretty cool. But I don't know if Rocket League has enough like depth to it to make that really important. If you could do trades and stuff, maybe watch replays through, I think that'd be pretty sick. I think that would be the best one. Being able to pull up replays that you have saved on client in your phone, I think would be incredible. But if you're telling me I can do that, I have so many better ways to implement that system. Like if you get the API or the ability to run the replays in a third-party thing, I'm putting that in a web browser. I'm doing coaching tools. I'm doing a bunch of stuff that would be super sick. So yeah, I think a lot of third-party style stuff would be really cool. But Psyonix isn't really too nice about allowing people to utilize their API and everything, which kind of stinks. So that's part of the reason why IGL shut down. Really, really stupid. So yeah, cool concept. How available it will be, I don't think it's up to UE5. I think it's just Psyonix being willing to let people take a peek at the back end, which I don't think they do. This one comes from Brewer Dog. How well do you think having a morning talk show like what ESPN does for sports, but for Rocket League or any other esport? I've told this story in the past. We actually planned on doing this with ESPN. Before COVID hit, there was potential that we were going to become an anchor for an ESPN show and start hosting a show based upon Rocket League and like Apex and some of the BRs. Two of the major games that ESPN Esports covered. COVID happened. Disney lost money. Disney's like, hey, sports aren't running. What do we do? And they get rid of the one thing that's being successful, which is esports. Kind of stupid. So that all went away, but there was intentions for that. I don't know how successful it would have been. I think you just see the issue that happened with G4 TV. Selling and running a TV show is really tough. I think you're seeing the benefit of podcasts and what they can become and the very open-ended, but scripted and very heavily segmented, like high production quality shows, kind of a thing of the past. You don't really see the concept of a TV show work well with audiences. It's kind of outdated in the way that we consume content and media. You're better off running a visual podcast and then splicing those things down for YouTube. I think one of the better examples is there's a podcast called Trash Taste, which is 3 of the biggest anime YouTubers, and they do a lot of really good long form content. It's like a 3-4 hour podcast, and then they splice those clips down for 8 to 10 minute chunks. They put them out as YouTube clips, and they crush. That would be the way I would go about doing an esports show. But you got to have the right people, the right personalities. Like that one is really tough to accomplish because variety esports channels don't really do well. Most people, when they watch an esport, they watch that esport and that's it. They don't really go into anything else. They're like, I want to watch the games I like and I don't go outside of it. People who watch Rocket League don't go and watch Counter-Strike. They don't go and watch StarCraft. They don't go and like most stick to what they know. Again, that's not always the case. I do know some people even in this community that do watch multiple other esports. So I'll watch Rocket League and Tetris. Dude, you're a man after my own heart. Atta boy. Unheard if you didn't know I'm a huge Tetris fiend. Love Tetris. But yeah, I think talk shows are kind of a thing of the past. They don't really work the way that they should. Podcast, digestible, and made for YouTube is, I think, a better way to go. But I think it'd be cool. And I think you can go check out Chalkcast. I was just recently on CJ's show. You've got Off the Post with Karma and Kronovi. There's some good talk shows out there in Rocket League that I think you might enjoy. Last but not least, the question that was asked at the beginning that I said I'd save till the end. It's the hot take. Liam had asked, do I think G2 makes the major? Ooh. Let me present it like this, and then I'll give you my answer. Every single person in North America expects G2 to be one of the best teams in North America. They expect G2 to qualify. And because of that, there is a ton of pressure on that team in the 3rd and final regional. They're tied for 5th, and there is a whole bunch of teams that they're going up against, right? There's a ton of teams that they're competing with. It's an uphill battle. I think Furia is only getting better. I think Complexity's in the competition. I think NRG is trying to make some approaches, and the list just continues from there. If I look at the rankings right now, tied for 5th right now is between G2 and NRG. You've got Furia and Optic right behind them, 1 point behind. You've got Complexity and Shopify, another 2 points behind them. So essentially, you've got what is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams fighting for 2 spots. I also haven't even mentioned Space Station. I feel the benefit is there is some pressure and some expectation on Energy. Energy, I think a lot of people have been very critical of them, but I think a lot of people, expectation-wise, don't put them as, other than the Energy fans that expect them to be the best every single time. I don't think Energy is considered a favorite, which Garrett and them usually perform better when they're not. Some glimmer of hope with top 4 last week, but I do still think they're an underdog. Furia, a lot of expectation, I think, from them as well, with transferring and not making a major. Maybe things are bad there, but I do think Furia is usually pretty icy, pretty clutch. Optic, I don't expect to do it. Complexity, I think, has potential. Shopify, I don't see making it above top 8. So I think, realistically, it's between Space Station, G2, NRG, and Furia. Maybe Complexity in there as well. So you got 5 teams fighting for 1 spot. Maybe 2, if you include Space Station. So you've got 5 teams fighting for 2 spots. Maybe a tiebreaker in there, which I think is almost inevitable. I could honestly see G2 in a tiebreaker trying to play for a spot. I could also see Space Station and Furia just locking it in and G2 not making it. So do I think G2 makes it? My top 5 for North America representation going to the major: Gen G, FaZe, V1, Space Station, and Furia. G2 doesn't make the major, and Furia. We're talking about a melting pot here in North America. Let's see what happens. I'm okay with being wrong. I'm all for the chaos that is happening in our region. I think it's tougher than ever. And with all that pressure, can they prove they have the ice? I'm interested to see and find out. I'm excited for what happens as a fan of the game. No bias aside. I don't know, man. I think it's gonna come down to the wire. But I'm gonna go with Furia. You know what? Why not? Let's go with Furia. Let's cause some chaos. Let's make for some interesting times here in Rocket League. It'll be fun to see how it goes. But that is gonna do it for today's Q&A video. I'm excited to see what happens. And if G2 makes it, I wouldn't be surprised either. Again, I think it's gonna be a close one, but Q&A Sunday. That's another one in the books. If you guys enjoy these, as always, comments down below. Let me know what you guys want to hear my thoughts, opinions on, whether it be Rocket League related or otherwise. Appreciate everybody stopping by the chat and asking their questions as well. And we will see you guys. I'll be doing major playoff scenarios, requirements, tiebreaker scenarios, what teams need to do in order to make it in. All that kind of stuff I'll be covering throughout the week. But that's going to do it for today's video. As always, like, subscribe, notifications, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.